Time is approximately forever.
So politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
People who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Make sure you guys like the stream down below, subscribe if you're new. We have a decent amount to get into tonight. Of course, there's been a lot of new developments that have been taking place in the world of politics. Donald Trump in the polls right now, he is doing so well. He's doing better than a lot of people could have ever imagined at this stage in the game. He's currently leading by 3.3% in the popular vote, which really means he's leading by 6. And we did a video today where we covered the potential models that we saw from 538, from The Economist. And even though these are some of the more liberal possible models, man, I think it's good to err on the side of caution. Trump is in the best position possible that he could ever be in. And a lot of it includes him not doing anything. He doesn't need to do anything at this stage in the game other than just sit back and enjoy the show, because things have gotten so bad for Joe Biden. Democrats don't even know who they're going to possibly be running at this stage in the game. There's been so many people that have come forward within the Democrat establishment now. They don't have a ridiculous amount of pull, and that's true, but you have a lot of people that have come in and have said Biden needs to be replaced, and we have a roster that's brewing of people that have been saying this, and it's so funny. But you look at this, Jerry Nadler, he said Biden should step aside for Harris. Mark Takano, Don Beyer, Adam Smith. I don't know all those individuals. I've never even heard those names before. Maybe you guys have. I don't know. But Jerry Nadler is a big domino to fall. And I'm not just making a joke about his weight, because he is a very, very big guy. I mean, he's him and Chris Christie, two peas in a pod. One's from New York City, one's across the river in New Jersey. But when you talk about the fact that you have Democrat leadership saying Biden needs to step aside, but here's the problem. Biden's brain dead, and they can't put the cat back in the bag. They can't put the toothpaste back in the tube on that. There's no way to spin it. Everybody knows that Joe Biden, he's done. It's painful to watch. It's not like a sympathy as in, sympathy vote. It's what are they putting this guy through? You know, we saw Fetterman, he was awful, but you could say, it's a stroke, he's going to recover. This is not something that you recover from. I don't know anybody who's recovered from, cognitive decline in your old age, possible sundowner syndrome that he's got going on, can't sit down, sits down for an interview, confuses the year that it is, says he failed in the debate because Trump was interrupting him loudly. It's like Biden, you're not talking about 2020. That was 4 years ago. This is, a week ago, a little bit more than that. He's saying he's going to beat Trump again in 2020. There's a clip where he minces words, and it's not a stutter. The stutter magically reappears after all these years. Biden saying that he's a black woman as VP and served under the first black female president or whatever. He's trying to say that he chose Kamala. He was Obama's VP. Playing the woke race card doesn't really work as well as it used to. It's not 2020 anymore. But still, I mean, when it all just unfolds like this, it's brutal for Joe Biden. He's giving so many possible rounds of ammunition, politically speaking, to Republicans and all the political opposition, including the people on the left that want to replace him. But they realize that they have to, because they're like, okay, what point do we have to get him to step aside? Because they know that Kamala Harris is a weaker candidate overall, but they're worried about down ballot effects, because at the rate things are going, Joe Biden will cost the Democrats so many House seats, so many Senate seats. I don't care what the down ballot Senate polls say. I mean, there's always been a disparity, especially this far out. But when you're talking about this just implosion, he was already imploding because his policy's so bad. Now the personality aspect, Donald Trump on personality, that was why he was so polarizing. But you put him up against this guy, I don't think the personality is going to be what a lot of swing voters are thinking about. And it's allowing Donald Trump to consolidate swing voters. A lot of voters make up their minds if they are undecided, in the next couple of months or so. Early voting starts in September, October. You have a month of voting. I'm not saying election month is good, but we need to use it to our advantage, which includes the drop boxes in Wisconsin. We'll possibly get into that with some of the super chats. But when you're looking at these numbers, they're awful. He's down in Pennsylvania by so much that if you apply the 2022 polling error, Donald Trump still wins Pennsylvania. He still seemingly wins Wisconsin. And Michigan, it's a little bit of a different story. But again, we can get into the 2022 polling error, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that the polls this far out, you look at the polls between Oz and Fetterman in August, Fetterman was up by 9 points. Donald Trump is up by 4.5, and a lot can change. I'm not saying it can't, but you're running out of time, especially with early voting. And Donald Trump saying, vote early if you want to, do what you need to do, just vote, make a plan to vote. That should have been the messaging all along. I understand that we still should be railing against, and he is still railing against the massive election month mail-in system. But, early voting is not a bad thing. Florida has early voting. Ohio is early voting. A lot of very pro-Trump, very red states have early voting. Texas, most people vote early in Texas. And I think it's a good thing that Michigan and Wisconsin, now you have in-person early voting, because Republicans that vote early typically utilize that instead of the mail-in system, which is genius, because now if somebody gets sick on election day or doesn't want to stand in the line, it doesn't matter. The third shift factory worker, they can make a plan to vote if they like Donald Trump, and that's exactly what's going on. But it's far deeper than that. You have Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia. They know Virginia was already in play before the debate. And we could talk about, if Trump picks Youngkin, what could happen. We'll get into the VP pick. A lot can possibly happen with that, and there's a lot of roads Donald Trump could go down. And we'll get into that. We'll get the people in the mix with the super chats. But in terms of what we're seeing unfold, you have people in swing states. I mean, Whitmer allegedly privately trying to push him aside. I don't think she's dumb enough to take the bait and run. And nobody's leapfrogging Harris. At most, Whitmer would be the VP, and that'd be an insufferable ticket. I don't think that would win Michigan, to be fair. But when you're talking about the fact that you have leading establishment Democrat senators saying step aside, I mean, this is a problem. Imagine if Donald Trump, you had very MAGA people saying step aside, let your VP pick take over. That would never happen. You couldn't imagine it happening. If Donald Trump lost the debate, could you imagine like J.D. Vance saying, no, you need to step aside, or just anybody in the Senate, Josh Hawley, any of these people, Ted Cruz? No, of course not. Donald Trump isn't implode, though. But again, if you're trying to see this the other way, Democrats would be having a field day. They'd be celebrating. They'd be having fireworks, and not because it's the 4th of July, because they'd be just trying to celebrate the fact that they're probably going to win the election despite having a horrendous candidate or a president with a horrible approval rating. Not like they have any other candidates that can win. Newsom's all in for Biden. Whitmer's all in for Biden because they're not stupid. If they run now, they risk losing to Trump. Their career's over. If they run in 2028, they don't have to deal with all the baggage that the Biden's administration, this scandal has. If anything, they want to push it onto somebody like Harris, who they know is going to lose, but probably maybe if they think Biden's doing that poorly, they think that Harris could do well enough to stop the bleeding down ballot. That's what they're trying to do at this point. And maybe if everything goes right or they throw more stuff at Trump, that they'll be able to get the victory. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to just test the waters. The media's turned on Biden. I don't know why. They're not even trying to sweep it up for him anymore. Now you have liberals saying that CNN is pro-Trump and MSNBC is pro-Trump because they realize it's hurting Biden. The media is being honest for once. They didn't cover this for how long? Remember, you had the Psycho Joe Scarborough going up there, and he was saying that this is the sharpest Biden ever behind closed doors. He's sharper than 2008 Biden, 2012 Biden. First of all, that Biden wasn't that sharp, but at least he could complete sentences, understood a little bit about policy, could, slap Paul Ryan, rhetorically speaking, in the debate, according to a lot of people. And he did. And part of it is because Paul Ryan's so unlikable, and Biden but he played it well, socially speaking. He had vibes. Now the vibes are gone. And the vibe is, he's in a nursing home. You get the average person from a nursing home, they're probably going to be more eloquent than Joe Biden. They're probably going to be more with it. I saw a video of some woman that had dementia on, I think it was Twitter, and she was asked about she didn't know who the president was, and she's like 90, she's 100, and then apparently they said it's Biden, and she just, I don't know, she said our country is finished or whatever. I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't have taken that video and posted it if it was like my family member, not trying to like exploit family members with dementia, but that's not as bad as what they're doing to Biden right now. I mean, his whole family, he's guarded by a very small circle right now. And in that circle, you have his wife, who's very power hungry, basically wants to be a shadow president, and Jill Biden. And then you have everybody's favorite human being, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, again, convicted felon, but not for the right felonies, first of all. The left likes to use that term. Now they're not going to use it anymore because of Hunter. But this is who's running the country. And then you have these other people. We could pull this up here. The speechwriters. This is Biden's White House. You have a lot of people, many of whom are millennials. That's not to say that millennials can't be competent, but these are very incompetent people, don't know their head from their rear end. A lot of them are DEI hires. We know that, including Biden's vice president, by the way. Now they're saying, you can't say that, but Biden was being pressured to pick a woman in 2020 and a black woman specifically in 2020 on the ticket. You go back, you watch CNN, MSNBC, she was the diversity hire. Even Biden, in a way, is a diversity hire because Democrats knew that they had to put up somebody at the top of the ticket that could, maybe be like a generic white guy that can stay in the basement all day and relate to Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, the people. So even Biden, even though technically he's probably the only time that DEI has been used by these people to promote somebody who's a white guy. And maybe it's because he's disabled, and I think that we kind of see that unfolding now, but that's a whole nother... I'm shocked they haven't used that argument. Oh, Biden's disabled, you can't attack him. Maybe they are going to get rid of him. Either way, they've woked themselves into this box, and they're incompetent. We talked about how, in 2020, we were saying we wish Trump did a little bit more to rein in these crazy people, but they're imploding themselves because they're just so incompetent, and Trump doesn't even have to do anything at this point. And you're seeing it unfold. It backfired, and maybe that's the whole premise of why Biden's president right now. Maybe that's why... it's just part of God's plan to have Trump come back and hopefully have a big trifecta, get things done. It will have worked out better that way if he does win. I mean, if you're the Democrats, yeah, you would much rather have had Trump win in 2020 because he gets a narrow win. He probably doesn't have the House. Maybe you have the Senate, but then you have another blue wave in 2026, especially after Roe combined with Trump in the White House. It would have been brutal. I think like maybe D+8 or something. They would have had a very good midterm year. Their party would be a shoo-in for 2028. Republicans wouldn't even have a bench. Who would be on the Republicans bench? Mike Pence would be the nominee. I mean, he would get destroyed by anybody you put up. Harris, even Harris could beat him. Newsom, who's a bullshit artist, but he could beat him. Like, let's be real here. Trump losing, quote unquote losing, having a borrowed election, having a whatever you want to call it, and then coming back and having a mandate victory. I'm not saying that there aren't issues. I'm not saying that it would be worth it if we can't fix our country. We can't fix the border. We can't fix the economy. But I'm just saying in general that things are so much better because of the fact, or for Republicans going into the cycle, because what happened. And I'm just saying maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe some people will say I'm out of bounds, and it's true. A lot of people can't afford anything. What's happening with the border crisis, what's happening overseas is a big mess. But in turn, if we're able to actually have a mandate resounding victory this election cycle, Donald Trump is going to have a hell of a lot of power. And now it seems like there's a little bit of backpedaling. So there are question marks. People are going to say, well, the media being nicer to him means that he's going to be caving to them more. We don't know what's going to happen. They may be nice to him now because they're fed up with this administration. When Trump gets in there, starts doing things that he should be doing, they'll probably turn against him again if that's the road he's going to go down. And Donald Trump is somebody that's not afraid to go down those roads and have those tough conversations or whatever. He's not, and we know that. We know that he's not. But still, you look at what's going on right now. Biden, according to Axios, they're leaking his instructions. And again, there is something going on. You have a lot of fed up people apparently in the White House. Maybe they realize he can't win. They're just throwing it. And they're giving Axios these instructions like, look at this. Walk to the podium like he's like a 2-year-old. I'm shocked he can even read at this point if this is the level of instruction. And it's sad. I get it. Obviously, he is somebody who's a corrupt scumbag. I'm not saying I sympathize with him, but it's hard to watch even knowing that. I mean, evil dictators, seeing them in a decrepit old state, and it's not something that sits. It doesn't sit well with people. It shouldn't sit well with people. I know he's not a good guy. We get that, but still, like you're looking at what he's going through right now, what he has to do. And the fact that they're just keeping him afloat. It's his family, too. They want power. A lot of his corruptness also came from his son. And that's why he's running probably, is so he can actually stay in power, enrich his family, go from there. I mean, it doesn't matter. He said God would have to come down and tell him that he needs not to run for re-election. The more he digs the hole, the harder it's going to be for Democrats to justify pushing him out of there. Whether they push him out or not, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to justify it. And even before the debate, it was not looking good. Don't let people say, oh, it's because it's the debate. No, it's everything. It's policy. It's Trump being strong, Trump being disciplined. And then we get this report that people are freaking out about. But look at this report. Trump and the Republican Party are not spending any money, but they're still winning. Like, this is crazy. They're gaining support, and they're just sitting on their cash. Let Biden spend it all. They spent $83,000 in Arizona. 83,000. Some people in chat probably have more than that in their savings accounts. Most people might. It depends on their age, of course. Georgia, 3.6 million. That's more. I mean, they are being smart and pragmatic about the two states they're already focusing on, because they're like, okay, let's build up the firewall. We already got North Carolina. Dems aren't spending much there either. Even the governor's race is still neck and neck, despite them trying to sensationalize about Robinson's controversies. They're not spending in Wisconsin, but Biden's losing support. The debate is free press. People watch ads. Do ads really change that many people's minds compared to a debate? And the more they see the ads, it's like, no, it reminds them of Biden and why Biden's a failure. So either way, Republicans have a lot of money. They have a lot of ad reservations, but they're not spending it now because they're being smart. They already get the free press about the VP pick, the free press about the RNC. Let them wait until August, right after the DNC, closer to Labor Day. That's when the ad blitz will happen, and that's when they'll start to pick up steam. And it's smart. It's very smart. Because do ads move the needle? I only saw one Trump ad that I ever saw playing in 2016, right in October. Down the stretch, Michigan was covered. You watched the football games. You watched anything at the time. It was covered with Hillary this, Hillary that. And did she win? No. I mean, again, but the fact that Trump is competitive. I saw more Trump ads in 2020. He had a bigger war chest. Didn't do him a whole lot because, circumstances and all. But the fact that Biden's spending and he's still losing support, and then Trump is just going to come in and then go boom, blasted with ads. He controls the narrative down the stretch. It's genius. It's genius. Now, as for the VP pick, I think we're going to get to that during the super chats. But we talk about the fact we're 121 days away from the election, and this is the state of the race. Like, you couldn't have, even my dream, I couldn't imagine Donald Trump leading the popular vote, a couple years ago, let alone by 3.3 points. If Biden won it by that, he still wouldn't even be guaranteed an electoral college victory. That's what people don't seemingly grasp. And not only that, look at how many polls he's over 50 or 49, 48, 50. The garbage Reuters poll is ruining the parade, but you got 45, you got 52, 49, and then you have 52 and 48. These are before, well, actually, no, they took out the Quinnipiac poll, and he's still up by 3.3%. I mean, this is something else. And the swing state, it gets better for Donald Trump. When you look at the swing state, when you look at the big picture, it gets even better for Donald Trump. He's up in Pennsylvania by almost 5 points. I told people Pennsylvania and Georgia, there's a big chance for reversion based off of how bad this administration has been. And you're seeing it unfold. You're seeing it unfold before your very eyes in terms of the polling data, in terms of a lot of things. So you have that. You have Democrats putting Biden on blast. You have these people running the country. You have Biden with his Axios leaks. It's getting worse. Are they going to push him out? Again, we did a poll on the main channel, and people said that they'd rather run against Biden, and some people said that Harris would not be replacing him. Now, Harris, I don't think Biden's going to resign, because I don't think Democrats are going to want to bear the burden of, we never elected a female president, or the first female president was handed the baton or whatever. I don't think that they want that unless it's like a real tragedy, whatever. Ironically, they would lose the 13 keys. According to Lichtman, who's just gone a downward spiral right now. We could get into the real 13 keys at some point. I'm probably going to write an article on my website about the real 13 keys, or even just looking at them objectively. We counted 9.5 of them false, by the way, whereas Lichtman's counting, 3 or 4 of them false? And those are like the objective ones. It's bad. It's brutal. But will Biden be replaced is the poll we're going to ask people. And again, keep in mind, if it's yes, it's Harris. It's not Newsom, and it's not Whitmer, and it's not Michelle Obama. And many people have talked about that. It's not going to be the way it is. But answer the question. But all the it wasn't even a conspiracy. But they framed it as such in the media. Now they have no choice. They have to bend the knee. They're bending the knee as we speak, and Trump is surging in the polls, and we are less than 4 months away from Election Day. This isn't like it's a year or two out where they have time to, because, if this was Biden in 2023 in that mental state and he was getting exposed, he would absolutely have been pushed aside. And it would have been for Harris He would have not run for re-election. Harris would probably be the nominee. Maybe Newsom runs against her. Probably not. Well, actually, I think he would, because if they are pushing him out, it's like an 8-year time frame. Usually you want the person to win. I think Harris probably would get a lot of the party support at that point, though. I think she would have the mandate, and I think the party establishment is okay with her. In fact, she was like one of the few people that they were, pushing for when they first turned on Biden for Harris in the primary. CNN was all in for Biden. Then the first debate blunder, they went all in for Harris. Then Tulsi Gabbard just destroyed her. Then they slowly drifted to Biden. They shopped around with mini Mike Bloomberg and all these other characters. Does anybody remember who Tom Steyer is? No, you probably don't. But, that's how it went back in 2020. They didn't want Bernie Sanders to get the nomination. They probably would have ran the coffee guys, the third party. But that's the way it goes. Now, we are going to get to Super Chats because we got a lot of Super Chats, and we'll be talking about the VP pick mainly in terms of the Super Chats because I don't have like a monologue prepared. But I will say one last thing. There was a report this morning, and again, I don't buy any of these reports 100%, but the same names that I heard are the same names they're circulating, and it's down to 3 of them. Tim Scott he's out of the running. It seems like it's going to come down to J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum, and I've always said Glenn Youngkin could be a dark horse. Ben Carson also, if people are going to focus on loyalty, there's a lot of support for Carson. We can have this debate, but I will say the one thing I tweeted out is there's a difference between a great VP and a great running mate, because running mates are supposed to flesh out the ticket. VP is supposed to, if something happens to you, you step in, and usually you don't want them being too powerful. Mike Pence, 2016, filled a role. Not a bad running mate, atrocious VP and atrocious politician in many regards. So think about that, trying to strike the balance. I personally think 2028 should not be our concern right now. Again, if the VP is anybody, they can lose a primary. I refuse to die on the hill that they can't. If Biden ran in 2016, Hillary Clinton was destroying him in the polls, he would have ended his political career then and there, or maybe he would have ran again. I don't know, the 4th time. Oh man. If not even the 5th, I lost count of his runs. But let's see, Johnny Heartdog for 20 says if they kick off Biden and replace him with Miss Harris, who do you think her VP will be? I'm guessing it's going to be Hakeem Jeffries. I think Trump should pick Youngkin for VP. He's a strong candidate. I also think you would have a good shot at flipping Virginia if he's picked. I got to go. I'm on the Kenai Peninsula. Please pray for nice weather. Well, thank you for the Super Chats, and also congratulations on your journey. We wish you safe travels, of course. But in terms of Harris's VP, I said generic white guy, but who is that? It can't be Newsom. It would have to be somebody they tee up for 28. If maybe they do the double woman and they go with Whitmer because maybe she'd win Michigan, and if she falls short or if Harris falls short, Whitmer would still be in the cards for 2028. I don't know. I really don't know, but she's a psychopath. Like, she, with the whole FBI stuff and the whole kidnapping thing, it's all been buried, the nursing home. Like, all these people for 2028, they are going to, like, Republicans have a very good shot at holding the White House if Trump wins, just because of how awful their bench is. I mean, there's so much to attack them on. That's not to say that Republicans have a strong bench, because I don't believe that they do. But we'll debate 2028 when we get to finish this election first. Hopefully we'll have a country left. I feel like if Biden wins, I think you can kiss goodbye to 2028, given the fact that amnesty will likely be on the way. And Biden's already trying, because I don't know, people around him might, if they're being honest with themselves, see the writings on the wall. But Gerald Armstrong says the Le Pen hype train was fun while it lasted until France voted far left today. Yeah, I mean, that surprised me, because I saw the polls, and people are saying that, and again, they did gain seats. I'm not saying they didn't, but it was like the Red Wave disaster fire festival we had a couple years ago for them, except it was worse for them because they got a far left majority. France is gone. It's done, probably. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to keep, right-wing populist parties aren't going to surge in popularity. They are. It is a minor setback. They underperformed expectations. But people are saying, well, the polls are wrong in the UK and the polls are wrong in France. So what does it say about us? And it's like, first of all, I understand where they're coming from, but it doesn't always carry over. I mean, let's be real. Polling is all over the place. Polls could be underestimating Trump. They could be. Polls underestimated the margins against Labor in the UK, and it's very possible that polls could be, or they overestimated Labor. By that logic, you could say, well, they're going to overestimate Biden or whatever, or that they overestimated Macron. You look at the data, either way, there's a difference between seats gained and like the actual popular vote as well. That's also something that they don't seem to grasp or understand. But either way, just talking about this election and where it stands, you can't go off of that. But I will say, yes, we cannot be complacent. That would lead to our downfall. We don't want to be stupid. It's not a done deal. And no, that doesn't mean we can't win Wisconsin, because you have two sides of this argument. Oh, it's a done deal. We're going to win. Biden's screwed, which I tend to agree with that point, that Biden's screwed because of the way the political environment is going. There's been a vibe shift. I don't know when it was, probably some point about a year ago, maybe after that, maybe earlier this year at the latest. But in terms of this administration, in terms of the way that things are going, yeah, it's not looking good for them. But I will say that on the flip side, no, we're not screwed. No, drop boxes are not. Look, were drop boxes really enough last time when Biden had no margin for error, 20,000 votes in Wisconsin? I'm not saying that that was potentially a fair count margin. We know the nursing home stuff. Everybody knows it. And it probably will happen again, but I don't know or believe if that's going to be even remotely enough, just based off of the way things are going. I can't see it. Democrat incompetency is through the roof right now. They don't even know their nominee. And I feel like you're going to continue to see shifts in the Rust Belt, even if we didn't quite see them in the primary towards Trump, or a super overperformance or whatever when the whole thing was a done deal. But I don't think it'll be enough. And yes, Wisconsin, there was all drop boxes in 2020, and somehow we did a lot worse in many races in 2022 without them. We got our asses kicked without them. So I think depending on, obviously we need surveillance, but could they help us out because you have a lower propensity group of people, the white working class voters, making it easier for them to vote? I think it helps us in Wisconsin. If you had a full turnout election in Wisconsin, I don't think we'd lose, because Democrat turnout's always super high. That's not to say there's not some shenanigans here and there. There were in 2016, I believe. There's other ways to do it than these drop boxes, and why can't we stuff them as well? If they do it, we can do it with legitimate votes and just decimate them. I believe it. We have the wrong mindset. The victim mindset's not the strong mindset. If you can't beat Biden in this climate, depending on the circumstances, I don't think you can even cry, given the numbers that we have. You can't even cry foul, because that would be an extreme incompetence level. Because if last time Trump overperformed the polls despite shenanigans, I mean, imagine what it's like now. So keep that in mind. And it's possible that the polls could be closer. I'm not saying that they can't, but national polling in this country has been more accurate. And even if you apply the margin of error, Trump still likely wins. Every single poll showing this. And there were a lot of polls that were accurate in the midterms, and they're showing Trump leading by closer to 10 than him losing the popular vote. So what does that tell you? Real Texan politics is Hurricane Barrel's making landfall soon. Stay safe, Houston. Well, I'm glad I'm up in Dallas, but that's unfortunate. I didn't know hurricane season is starting this early. Usually it's in like late August, September, October, even November. But yeah, Biden during a hurricane, oh man. You know, Obama played his cards right, because he at least had a brain. He was not somebody I consider to be a good leader or a good president, but you talk about, he outflanked the hell out of Romney when it came to Hurricane Sandy. Romney was nowhere to be found during that, and that's why Obama did so well in New York, even some places compared to 2008. Jared Walsh for 10 says NATO Summit Washington 24. What is Joe going to say that day, or will he be there at all? And there are also about 8 representatives now for the Dems and 1 senator, and there will be more soon on Monday. We'll see. There is an effort to oust him because they are terrified of what the down ballot effects could be. Are they going to be successful? Biden is saying, no, I'm like, this is like primary rhetoric. He's like, no, I beat this guy, Mark Warner, before. He tried to get the nomination. I'll beat him again. It's like, Biden, he never ran for president. Mark Warner has never run. You're just delusional. Like, at this point, what is going on here? What's going on? It is a comedy, but it's like at some point it feels wrong to laugh. Even at the damage he's done to this nation, as much of a corrupt POS he is, including in his personal life, by the way, it's just still hard to watch. And I don't feel like I'm alone in that. I don't feel like I'm alone. So we'll end the poll here, or actually vote on the poll. We don't have enough people voting in the poll. We have 1,500 people in chat. Let's get 1,000 votes in the poll in chat. But let's see. Our dog show for 20 says read Numbers chapter 14. Numbers 14 is 20 in the 2024 in the Bible countdown calendar. Amalek equals Kamala in the chapter. Josh is also maybe Josh Shapiro. Biden's name was in Numbers 10 for 2020. I'll be nervous if it's Harris Shapiro. First of all, okay, listen. I don't think that's how the Bible works, to my knowledge. I don't. I understand why people look for patterns. I don't necessarily know if that even holds up through the rest of the scripture, if that's even a valid interpretation, depending on the denomination, of course. That being said, I'm not worried about Josh Shapiro. At the top of the ticket for 28, is he maybe the best they could do? Yeah, I mean, like, he's basically he wants to be the Democrat DeSantis at the state level. Somebody, how DeSantis was back in the day, somebody who can move the state to the left. I don't even think he's going to be able to do that, and he hasn't done that. And the voting efforts that he's put in place are backfiring on him. So you're not seeing Pennsylvania become a Republican or a Democrat paradise the way that Jared Polis has made Colorado the liberal paradise. And I think that you can also credit a lot of weed for that as well. Weed definitely transformed their culture, more so than a lot of other states too. But Colorado, Washington, they set the tone. But Alaska, I mean, they're always kind of libertarian. It's not that surprising that they were like the first red state to legalize it. But looking at the current state of affairs right now, in terms of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, I'm not worried about him. They're not going to leapfrog Harris with him. There's no way. And if he's on the ticket, it doesn't matter. Maybe it will boost Harris in Pennsylvania by a point or two. Okay, Trump would still win the state. It doesn't matter. Biden's from Pennsylvania. And the fact that he'd be attaching himself to this ticket, he would lose a lot of popularity. I don't know if he'd want to do that. You've only been governor for 2 years. That's the problem. I've seen him speak. He's not a bad orator. He's a good politician, especially at the state level. I don't think he'd get through a primary because he won in part because he abandoned his initial campaign strategy of, I'm running against an extremist, and started talking about cutting taxes, school choice, basically running as like a moderate Republican type of figure, and coalesced a lot of Republican or even like Oz supporters by doing so. So that's that. But statewide politics is a lot different than national politics. Obviously, if DeSantis was running for president, he would not win Florida by that margin. He probably would win it, but not by much, especially because his popularity nosedived in the state when he moved to Iowa to run. But let's see. Trump is probably the more electable one in Florida, which is the ironic part about it. I am Charles says, do you think Hillary will be the nominee at the DNC? I think that Hillary is probably done with politics. I think if they do that, it's ironic because she's probably more electable than a lot of the other people they have, even in her current state. But she lost to Trump once. And if she really gets the nomination, we can bring up all the old memes. It would be the biggest beatdown ever because she lost a lot of popularity after she lost because she's so insufferable. She's insulted so many Americans. I hope that they do that, actually. I hope that they do. But no, they're not dumb enough to run it back. If that was going to be the case, Biden would have been, I don't know, unless Hillary or the Clintons are in it for Harris. And then, I don't know, Biden better watch his back if that's the case. But as Eaters of Dead says, globalists who won England and France will join other globalist nations and put economic and energy sanctions on America, start wars, etc. How bad will it get when Trump wins? First of all, let me be clear. The globalists were running both countries before, which is true. Now, are they going to get worse on certain things in France? Yes. Macron loses a lot of power and has to cave more to their demands. Maybe it could even help out Le Pen in the long run, so long as they're able to save the country. England or UK or whatever you want to call it, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, they're not really going to change. Labour and the Tories failed largely because reform was taking their votes away, because people realized that voting for Labour voting for the new Labour, which is like moderated from the Corbyn days, is not much different than voting for the Tories. The Tories, you're more liberal than ever. Yeah, it would have been worse under Labour and probably will get worse under Labour, but they've been globalist. I don't think they're going to like re-enter the EU, because that would be unpopular and at this stage in the game, because Brexit won the argument. So die for oil. And by the way, the poll's at 838 votes. Vote on the poll. We're at 61% no. I'm inclined to believe no. When you look at the betting markets, it's a different story. But even then, he was at like 70%. Now he's down to 59%. That's crazy. Biden winning the popular votes at 23%. I mean, folks, it's getting ugly. It's getting ugly. Republicans at 14% in New Jersey, chance to win, 1 in 7 to win New Jersey. That's unheard of. I don't even know if I believe that it's going to be a few points or whatever, but I think it will be under 10. No, even Delaware could get closer. Biden's home state, if you're really bombing in the Philly area and in New Jersey, New York, you would expect it to get a lot closer. I think if Harris is the nominee, that state could even be in play. Die for Oil says, pew pew to your head. Who would you pick for Trump's VP? I want Vance, Vivek, or Donalds in that order. MAGA, well, like I said, he has to strike a balance. Vance, I don't think adds much to the ticket. I don't. And I don't really fault against him the Never Trump stuff now in terms of his Senate race. But I do think that if you're Trump, is that somebody that's like has strong convictions for a long time that you could put in that position? No. Vance is going to be tested at the top of the ticket if he runs in 28. Same thing with Vivek. Again, Vivek, I don't think would help the ticket. I think actually he would be a detriment to the ticket. A lot of people won't like me saying that, but being popular online does not make you popular among whatever voters are remaining. Now, I don't think he would, at this point, would he be really a costly factor for Trump. I just don't think that he resonates with people as much as some people like him. He won the debates in my book because he was a stand-in for Trump, but even then, if it was Trump going out there and making these talking points and saying the same things, it would have probably been seen as a lot more popular. Because if you look at some of the post-debate polls, Vivek wasn't obviously with the MAGA base, he was popular, but you talk about fleshing out the ticket, balancing it. I don't think he adds much. I don't think he appeals to any set demographic. Maybe you could say young voters or whatever, but I still don't think he really helps you out enough among demographics that are higher propensity. So again, I think that I like Vivek. I'm intrigued by Vivek. I just don't think he's going to be in the VP position. He'll probably have a lot more power in some cabinet head. I'd rather have him Secretary of Treasury. Trump said he put a libertarian in his cabinet, didn't specify from the party. Vivek is a libertarian in many ways. That could be a good thing if you're going to lead a department like the Department of Treasury. Just depends on the department for sure. As for Byron Donalds, I don't know if he's going to be considered. Vivek's not going to be considered. But who would I pick? I'd have to weigh the options. I think that there's not a perfect option. There's not. But you need somebody who's not a total backstabber and helps the ticket win. I think that if we talk about electability, he picks Young in the elections over, he wins. But people are going to say, well, he's part of the establishment, spoke at WEF, which he did, but so did Burgum. I mean, people are fine with Burgum, but not Youngkin. Personally, I think that Burgum is probably more of like a snake type. But again, I'd be fine with him if he picks Burgum, because VP is not a position that is all that powerful as people make it out to be. No, I don't think that we have to worry about Trump's back the way things are going. If that's the way things were going, I don't think the media would be doing what they're doing right now. Obviously, things can change, but I don't think that we should be trying to look at 1% chance of things happening, whatever. They're more likely to impeach and remove Trump than anything, but people would lose their career over that in Congress if they do it, which is kind of an issue. So you need somebody that helps out the ticket. I'd be fine with Rubio. I was one of the first people to say it might be Rubio. Could he be announcing it on Tuesday? if he's in Miami. He is in Miami on Tuesday. Rubio will likely be there, I would assume. Maybe he'll announce it then, or he'll hint at it. If it is him, I don't know. Again, it's up to Trump. He'll make his pick. I'm going to be fine with the pick. I don't think Vance adds much to the ticket. I don't think Carson adds anything electorally, but he's very loyal, would do very well in the role because loyalty is important. But like I said, there's a difference between a good VP and a good running mate. When I think of somebody like Youngkin, he helps out electorally. You know, he's speaks to people, would give that permission slip to all those undecided voters, vote for Trump. But at the end of the day, it does elevate somebody with more establishment ties who's more establishment friendly. I get both arguments. I do. Personally, I don't think he's as much of like an establishment rhino as some people make him out to be, but there are red flags, or at least orange flags. I think he's a good governor for Virginia. He can win that state. I don't think very many Republicans could, but maybe now because things are changing, Trump could. And I think he would win it if he picked him. I don't know if that's what Trump's considering, but Trump likes him, but it's a dark horse. Trump likes Rubio. Trump likes Carson. Trump likes Vance. Trump likes Donalds. He likes a lot of people. I don't know if he likes Vivek as much as some people think, especially because he ran against him. And Burgum, I think he's probably cabinet material, but something tells me Trump might not pick him. And we'll see what happens. But if it comes down to like Burgum and Youngkin, yeah, I'd much rather have Youngkin than Burgum, because Burgum on policy said all these horrible things about Trump. Youngkin didn't say anything about Trump. His lieutenant governor did, but she didn't win on the same ticket as he did. And that was like after Trump attacked him, he just said nothing, which was smart. Trump fired the warning shot. He didn't take the donor bait. They wanted him to run. He didn't run against Trump. He probably realized it was political suicide. He's smart. So even if he is like a snake of sorts, you could attribute it to that, and that's fair. But Gerald Armstrong says, I remember you saying the scenario about Trump losing 2020 might be the best for the GOP. Yeah, and them losing 2022. If they somehow become the competent party under the new leadership, yeah, I think the 2022 disaster could be worth it, because I don't really think that a couple more Senate seats would have impacted anything, because you would still have McConnell, all the same bills would be pushed through, you name it, and obviously McConnell gets to go, McCarthy's gone, all these other people are gone or going, and I think it is a good thing. It's not perfect, but still FM32047 says, hope Trump still does mass deportations in 2025. I agree 100%. There's no reason not to. His presidency would be a massive letdown if he doesn't do it. Obviously, you could say better than Biden, but he has to do it, and he will do it. I believe he will do it. There's no reason for him not to. You have these people living in luxury hotels. Yeah, some of it may have to be cutting off benefits, self-deportation. But the Overton window has shifted so much on immigration since Trump left office, to the point where, yes, he can go scorched earth. He doesn't have to worry about re-election. That's what he's worrying about right now. That's the thing. And there are questions people will have about some people around Trump. I think one of the co-campaign managers has some red flags, but it is what it is. I don't think that necessarily means that it's over or whatever. Punch a Bunch Bear says, I could be wrong, but I think it's Burgum. It could be Burgum. I mean, Burgum seemed to be the betting favorite. I think he still might be the betting favorite. Something tells me that it might not be Burgum. It could be Rubio. It could be, Trump. I have sources, maybe they're wrong. They said that if Rubio is not from Florida, that Trump would be dead set on Rubio. But who knows if that's the case or not. And he's improved a lot in the past 8 years. And that you can't really deny that. But again, I do understand why people have concerns. I get the pros and cons of everybody. I just need some, there's red flags across the board, but I need somebody that helps Trump win. So we should just go with the optical choice. And then 2028, we could reconvene, because the VP pick is not that powerful. It's not as powerful as people make it out to be. Donald Trump is likely going to survive his entire term, and 2028 is going to be an open field, an open primary. And I think it's anybody's game. You see people rise up and then they fall all the time. It happens all the time. I'm not worried about 2028 as much as I used to be. Yes, they'll get 10 to 15% based off of it alone, but even going back in the day, Pence in the polls, where was he? Or was Pence in the polls? So you need somebody that's loyal. I think Rubio is actually more loyal than people give him credit for, and some people will say he's a grifter, he's a weasel. But if the tides are turning in the Trump direction of the party, he'll be the errand boy. He'll do what Trump wants him to do. He will be subservient to the status quo. But if Trump is the status quo, it's a hell of a lot different than the alternative. But it depends on the residency thing. Absolutely depends on the residency thing. Let's see. John Waffle H2P says, I won't lie, I'm scared of a Harris presidency, even if it's for 6 months. I would be too, but I mean, at this point, you can't go lower. You get somebody that's more evil than stupid, and barely functioning brain, and a very insufferable president. Okay, we'll end the poll. We had 1,000 votes. 61-39, no wins. I'm kind of surprised, actually. I feel like a week ago it would have been flipped, but punch a bunch. Oh, we did that one. Mike Oxhard says this seems too easy for Trump. It concerns me. Well, like I said, it does concern me. I think that there's no real reason for anybody to sit here and be complacent or take their foot off the gas. That's the worst possible thing that we could do as a movement, as a country. We can't do that. There's no reason for us to do that. There's no reason. So like I said, we need to get out and vote. We need to help Trump win, period. If he doesn't win, we don't have a country. If he does win, we have a shot at a country, regardless. Mitchell Ryan says, did you see what happened in France today? I can't believe Le Pen got more of the vote but lost, even leading the polls. You think this would affect us too? Well, I think that it doesn't necessarily mean anything negative in my book other than, polling in other countries is wrong. Le Pen still gained, or he still gained. If Trump gains even a hair from 2020's president, it's over. So I don't think people understand how close 2020 was. I really don't. It was razor thin. But now you have more election integrity, defortification measures in place, and even in Wisconsin, in terms of how they're counting, the whole Milwaukee drop that gave Biden the victory, some votes in there may have been suspect. Now that's going to come first. Drop boxes or no drop boxes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Sam Harrison says, thoughts on Harry Sisson and would I debate him? I would debate him, but I don't know if it'll ever happen. He is a paid shill. There's so many paid shills now. Biden has all these paid shills for his campaign, and they will defend. It's honestly borderline sociopathic. I see the guy on Piers Morgan. He just he comes off like he genuinely believes what he's saying. Oh, Biden's such a great president. It's like they found their perfect, useful idiot, because he's somebody that genuinely believes all the bullshit that he spouts. And he goes out there and says Biden did a great performance on the debate. He'll change. It's so fake. It's so dishonest. Everybody knows it. But I mean, just it's a mess. He's a very, very, I guess you would say, just a not a very intelligent individual, and very sussy in many regards, and that we know. Very, you can read between the lines. Let's go to the next super chat. Mike Oxhard says Youngkin for VP, Tulsi for Defense Secretary, Vivek for Secretary of Treasury, Elon for Energy, Tucker for Press Secretary, RFK Jr. to head the FDA. Honestly, I think that Elon probably is not going to be a part of the administration. I think he'd have endorsed Trump by now. I think that in regards to Secretary of Energy, I think that's probably where Burgum goes if he's not going to be the VP. Probably. RFK Jr., I don't think he's on the radar. I really don't. Unless Trump decides to reward him for playing spoiler, but I don't even think he's going to make much of an impact either way. I think he takes away from both. I don't think he impacts the head-to-head horse race that much, but probably on net hurts Biden. Alex Abel says Teflon rep never takes a fail, or takes never fail. Well, we've been right a lot. The people will like to zero in on some things like the midterms where I was wrong, But in terms of 2020, which I still believe that there's a chance that my exact prediction, aside Nebraska second, may have been entirely correct. But I had the popular vote as 3.7% or 3.8%. And if you adjust the margin in every state by the margin that I had it, we would have had the exact map I got minus Pennsylvania. So it's very telling that I'm the bad forecaster, or bomb 2020. I was more accurate than a lot of these other people. Had Biden winning by 7. South Carolina was close. I said it wouldn't happen, and I was right. And they will cling to all these copes or whatever about, oh, swing states matter more. But even then, their margins were more wrong. And I feel like, yeah, I'm not a prophet. I'm not right all the time, but the analysis is sound. It comes from reality, and in many cases, it's underratedly correct. So hopefully this time it will be too. Colin DeVos says, how likely do you think Trump is to flip Minnesota and Virginia? I think it's probably like a 40% shot that he flips either one. He might flip one of those. He could flip one of them. Let's go. Secession Now says UK went to the far left, France went to the far left, but the US will go to the right. You can't vote your ways out. Well, the UK is not going to change much. I'm not saying it's going to be better because Labor's in power. It probably does get worse. But is it going to really be something that moves the needle a whole lot? No, you're still going to get the same thing. And reform is getting off the ground. Maybe they'll have a shot to replace the Tories. Who knows? Sam Madsen said, do you personally think Biden will be replaced or step down? Well, first of all, those can be two different things if there's enough pressure from the right people. But the problem is he's being advised by his wife, his crackhead son, and he is adamant on staying in regardless. And the more he digs the hole, the worse it gets. There's a shot he could be forced out. Donors abandon him completely. He still might be just going on doing his thing. Again, he's got a handler. His wife is his handler. It's a mess. It's a big mess. It's honestly, it is elder abuse. Not saying I sympathize with Biden because he is a corrupt POS in my book, horrible president. But yeah, it is textbook elder abuse what his family's doing to him. At least the DNC's finally backpedaling on it a little bit. That's the key word. Just a little. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. But I don't know. I think that there's a shot. I honestly think it's like a 25% shot, and maybe I'm lowballing it, but they've just dug the hole so much, and we'll see. The interview was not a downward spot. It was bad, but it was a debate level, but it was not. It could have been a lot worse, hypothetically. Lee Burrs says, will you ever go into politics? Maybe. I think I'm in politics now. Maybe I'm not in elected politics. I'm not running for office. But like I said, we're going to law school first, and then we'll go from there. I've said that for quite some time. Liam Granville says, so Le Pen's party gains 53, but it's a bad night. Well, compared to expectations, it was a bad night. Yes, it was a net positive. But again, imagine like if in 2018, Republicans held the House, when all the forecasts said Democrats would have a 40 or they would gain 40 seats. Like, that would not have been good for the Democrats. And in many ways, they did underperform some expectations. You have red Florida. You confirm that. I mean, the swing states were close in a lot of races for sure. But I mean, let's see. Josh Lights says, Rep, do you think we should be concerned about the results in France? Polls showed a right-wing win, but it didn't happen. Like I said, polls, well, by that logic, you have to say, well, the right wing did better in the UK, so it balances out because Labour did worse. And honestly, I don't think it really tells us much overall. The polls were wrong, but they were not that wrong in round one. And I think round one went so well. Round two, they dropped the ball. There's so many factors. You can't really use that as evidence. You're better off using, 2022 polls were wrong in some states, which again is overblown when you look at the final aggregates and you look at the aggregates in October, the way things were going. So we'll see. Mike Oxhard says it'll be interesting to see how Trump will deal with these new lefty European leaders when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. We will leave NATO if Trump can't tame these anti-Russia Warhawks. We will have to see. We'll have to see. We will have to see. Hopefully we have to have that conversation. I don't really want to have it right now, but come November, I'd like to be having that conversation. Alex Maddox says, don't trust Burgum, Rubio, or Youngkin are better. See, that's the way that the political landscape has changed is insane. But it is true with Burgum. The guy's got shady ties. And you wouldn't be wrong to say Rubio has a checkered past, or that Youngkin arguably came out of the Carlyle Group, which is an establishment conservative firm and is liked by a lot of donors, although many of them are backing Trump financially. But it's like, yeah, Burgum is not exempt from that just because why he endorsed Trump when it was politically convenient for him. I mean, Rubio endorsed him like the same day. So it just depends. Trump will make his choice. If it's Burgum, it's fine. You know, I'll vote for the ticket. I don't think he adds much to the ticket. I don't think he takes away much. Just like the generic white guy aesthetic is fine in my book. But yeah, if he gets too much power in terms of like tech stuff, it can be a little bit of a problem. It could be. Make no mistake about it. Michigan nationalist says, can the Supreme Court overturn Obergefell and Loving in 2020? I don't think Loving is going to be overturned. I don't think that's something that it wouldn't even matter if it got overturned because every state has it legalized. But in terms of Obergefell, I think they will overturn Obergefell just based off of the fact that marriage is by definition between a man and a woman should go back to the states, will not have a political impact as much as people might think. You know, maybe Mississippi and Utah will have it illegal and that'll be it. And then maybe we can go from there and change public opinion, which is changing, especially among Generation Z, the Zoomer generations, and possibly even younger. It feels like there is a tide turning in the culture. Matthew Fox Trot says, any thoughts on the French and British election going left? Should Trump be worried? Again, like I said, he shouldn't be worried. There's no reason for it. Canada's going to go hard to the right. And France did go to the right as well. That party did it very, very well. So I don't think that it's a one-to-one correlation at all. By that logic, 2020 should have been a shoo-in because Boris Johnson destroyed the Labour Party in 2019. Let's see. Jacob Carter for 20 with some clarity saying, folks need to stop dooming about Euro elections. Labour's votes went down. It was just a bad system. Reform got more votes than ever. Macron cucked to the commies in France. Stop letting perfection get in the way of progress. Yeah, you can't make the perfect the enemy of the good. It's not going to work out too well that way. You need to make sure that we can look at everything and do it with mental clarity, not overly react, just like in regards to Wisconsin. I saw Sticks did a video saying Republicans should abandon Wisconsin. It's like, I like Sticks. I watch him from time to time, but it's like, that's just not a good take because drop boxes weren't there when you got your asses kicked last year. They weren't there when you underperformed the year before. You almost were able to win with them, and the political climate's changed so much since 2020 to the point where I don't believe that it really matters if you have them or not. Because we've actually been doing worse, you could argue, since they've been taken away. I'm not saying they help us. I think they're shady, but I don't think it means that it's going to change the margins very much in Wisconsin. Depending on what county these are being placed in could even help us. So we'll see. And I'm sure they could bring a lawsuit to limit the powers, the way they limit the powers, because Ohio has them, Texas has them, I believe, and Florida has them. But there are a lot of safe safety guidelines you have to abide by regarding these drop boxes. You can't just stuff them the way that some people want to, and that's kind of the thing. So, Dino Davis, if you run for office, you'll have to reveal. I have revealed my given name for 2, 3, almost 4 years now. Sam Madsen says odds on winning back Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Minnesota state houses. I think it all goes up. It all trickles down. If the presidency, you get 1 point in favor of Trump, there are down ballot effects, and they do come to pay off come election day. And it's not always reflected in polling. It's not. But the margin between Trump and any Senate candidate, besides maybe Klobuchar or King in Minnesota or Maine, it's probably going to be like 5-6 points at most. We've seen that. That's why I don't think that Sherrod Brown has any shot Moreno hasn't spent any money, but he has a lot of money. So there's that. And there's so many other races. Like Michigan's an open seat. Nevada is, I think, very winnable. It's basically an open seat. Arizona does like to split tickets more, but I think if Trump wins by enough, he's similar enough to Lake where he could possibly pull her over. We'll have to see. Stephen Kanizik is breaking. Max Nordau announced plans for the DeSantis and Haley delegates to back a Jeb Pence ticket at the RNC. Sarcasm. Well, they could do that and it would backfire, but I get the reference. I get the joke. So there's that. A lot of those people already came home to Trump. You're starting to see people admit it. I think it's a good thing, but again, you're not going to be sitting in the driver's seat after the way some of these people acted in the primary. They shouldn't be. But if they want to help Trump win, yeah, join the team. We should take any votes we can get, but doesn't mean that we need to value the advice of all these defectors that defected for all the wrong reasons, especially. I don't think there is a good reason. But, all right, we have 1,400 people in chat. We'll keep going. We've been going for an hour, but if you guys want to send in any more super chats, feel free. I know it's late. We'll go for another 10 minutes or so, depending on if we get any more super chats. But I don't think it's really that, I guess you would say, much of a warning sign in terms of the polling being off or the polling being wrong. France is one thing, but UK, I mean, even so, apply the polling errors. Trump, if he gets 47.5, because the Conservative, the Tories got their polling margin, Labor just underperformed theirs. If Trump just gets his margin, he's probably going to win. 46 point whatever was enough in 2016. 46.9 was nearly enough in 2020. And 47.5, you're already polling above it. It's very rarely that you'll underperform your national polling. Maybe you underperform it by a point, but you're usually not going to underperform your national polling. Trump's lead right now is comfortable. That's not to say it can't fluctuate. He's in a very good media cycle, but he's about to enter an even better one with the RNC. We'll see how that shakes out, how that's going to go in Wisconsin, who the speakers are going to be, who the VP pick is going to be, because I think there's some picks that add more electorally than others. But again, I don't think he's shooting his campaign in the foot if he goes with somebody that is like a safer pick or doesn't really move the needle much. But we'll see. Trump is known for head faking. He's known for head faking the media. You never know who the VP is going to be. The Green Renegade says, anyone else wish Donald Trump pulled his hand away before Jeb high-fived it back in 2016? No, I like the moment the way it is. I mean, that's how Trump is. He can engage in humility, contrary to popular belief. He can engage in self-deprecating jokes, and he does it a lot. And it was funny with him and Jeb had their moment. I'm not going to say that I like Jeb, but it would be un-Trumpian for him to do that. Like that's like how the media. That's like how it would like happen on like an SNL skit or something. Which would be funny if he did, but I mean, I don't really wish that he did necessarily. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, that would have changed everything. I don't want to change history regarding 2016 whatsoever, because that was a good year. Thomas Willingham says illegals going to vote for real. I think that some will find a way probably, especially with states with the universal vote by mail. I don't think it's going to be enough, in my opinion, to really alter the outcome given Trump's margins. Samuel Harrison says thoughts on Alan Lichtman's Biden win prediction. I think it's asinine. I mean, there's no other way to chalk it up. He's on an island, him and Rufus, also known as Nostradamus. They're on an island of their own, an island of delusion. And you could say Biden can win. I kind of agree. But saying that the election is a definitive one way or another, win or loss, it's not true. I mean, things can change. Things can arise. The fact that all keys are equal is a problem with the keys in and of themselves. We're too polarized. Like, yeah, it's true. Usually if the economy's going well, the incumbent wins. True. But the economy's not going well, but he gives Biden both economic keys. And perception's everything. There's a poll that came out a month ago that shows that 60% of Americans almost believe that we're in a recession. that would probably be enough to flip the short-term economy key. But again, recession is not the only thing that defines an economy. You can have a sluggish economy and also not be in recession. It's true. And if you look at the actual keys, because key one is party mandate. So that's not true because the GOP gained the House. They gained seats, whether you think they had a good performance or not. And Lichtman was wrong about why. Lichtman said they would have a narrow majority because of gerrymandering. Here's the problem with that. The generic ballot swung right by, 6 points? But Republicans only picked up, 8, 9 seats? I mean, it was underwhelming. So I don't think you could really go off of that. But then you have no serious contest for the nominations, the second key. That one's also false because we don't even know if Biden's going to stay in the race. And Trump got the primary vote threshold as basically a quasi-incumbent. I think the incumbency key, you'd have to make it tied because Trump is more popular than Biden and he's running against Biden. This idea that people can't change their minds because of things that they don't even probably know about, like the economic growth rate, it's not true. If people were perceiving it as, the economy's growing, we're doing well, yes, they would probably be more inclined to vote for Biden than they are right now, regardless of his mental state, but that's an issue. Key 4 is no significant third party. It was false according to Lichtman in 2016, but now it's apparently true. Again, should be false because RFK Jr. is polling above Gary Johnson. Key 5, strong short-term economy. Again, false because of public perception. Key 6, strong long-term economy. Technically true, but again, it's a facade. It's only a facade because of the, I don't even know how you'd give this key and say it would help Biden because it's just COVID reopening. Maybe people are glad we're not in lockdown. That's not an issue in this election right now at all. And it would be dumb for Biden to die on that hill because of the lockdowns he supported. So again, I'll even give that to Lichtman. Technically true. Key 7, policy change. What landmark policies has he changed? Honestly, I think because he's destroyed the country, we'll give it to Biden. But again, that doesn't help you. You destroy the country because your policies changed. How is that exactly a benefit? It's a drawback. No sustained social unrest, also true. I wouldn't call the Palestine protesters enough to turn that key myself. I will give him that. No scandal is obviously false. If the media turns on Biden, it's a scandal. Afghanistan was a scandal. Biden's cognitive decline is a scandal. I know he was very unusual about turning the key for Trump because knowing how much he despises Trump, you think he would have found a way to give or to turn that key for Trump. But what did it for him was the Ukraine call or impeachment, which again, Trump's approval went up after it happened, and House Democrats lost seats because of it, arguably speaking. So it's not how it works at all. So again, that's false because of what's going on right now. This is a big scandal. And it's a cover-up, and now everybody knows it. That doesn't even touch base on anything else that is objectively a scandal. Key 10, no foreign or military failure. Afghanistan caused Biden's approval to go underwater and never recover. If that doesn't count as a foreign or military failure, I don't know what does. What are you looking for him to do? Have it was a botched something, a botched operation. There's no foreign or military success. Lichtman agrees. Incumbent charisma is false beyond belief. Lichtman agrees, maybe not to the extent. And then 13 is charismatic challenger. He says it's false. I think Trump is charismatic, but it is true that to his base he is. I think it still helps him on net, but we'll even give it to him as false. So how many keys are false? Or technically, actually, key 13 is technically true because there's a non-charismatic challenger according to the criteria, but you have 1 false, 2 false, 3 false, 4 false, 5 false, 6 false, 6.5 false, 7. So 8.5 false. 8.5 keys have been turned. If you even apply this model objectively, which he's wrong in 2000. He said Trump would win the popular vote in 2016. He didn't win the popular vote in 2016. So he's been wrong about a lot of things, pretends like he's some prophet. He's not a prophet. He's not a prophet, not even close, because this is big time turmoil for Biden. He's down in the popular vote. He's down nationally, we'll even say 6 points because the cutoff is probably 2 to 3. So he's down by 6. Let's see. We have more super chats. We kind of got off on a tangent there. We'll go for a little longer. I know we said 9 minutes ago. Dino Diva for 10 says, I look forward to stronger Republican majority in the House and Senate in Trump's second term. No more Paul Ryan like slow walking. I'm also excited about real budget reductions. We'll have to see. We got to hold the feet to the fire. Just because we get in there doesn't mean that we need to take pressure off and coast. I think we still need to keep fighting for sure. And then work in the midterms to maintain the majorities if Trump indeed wins. Josh Light says, Rep, if Remington research is right, Trump's in good shape. If Bloomberg is right, not as much, which is more accurate. Well, I think that Remington is probably overestimating Trump, and I think Bloomberg in many states is underestimating him. But if Bloomberg is right, Trump wins Pennsylvania by 7, but loses Michigan and Wisconsin by 5 and 3, respectively. There's no way that happens. I will bet every dollar I have that doesn't happen. But if that's enough for Biden to say, look, guys, I can still win, have the poll, take it, do what he needs to do. But like I said, if they go with Harris, I think it could get even worse. So that's why they might stick with Biden. Or at least at that point, they could focus on Trump, but it doesn't stick the same. Trump isn't being attacked right now. Biden's the one being attacked by the media. Trump's got his most positive press probably since right after he won the last time, when he got some quasi-positive press. Boris Davitsky says, are you going to stream on Tuesday? Also, as a New Hampshire resident, do you think Sununu runs against Shaheen in 26? Can Ayotte beat or Morse beat Craig? Wait, when is the New Hampshire primary? So is that on? There's no way that's on Thursday. I thought we didn't have any until Arizona. Let me see. I'll look this up because it's usually the late one. It's in September. Let me see. Let's look up the governor's race. Let me see. Primary. It doesn't even mention the primary or when it is on this on the site on Wikipedia. No, primary September 10th. So I mean, I'll stream on Tuesday, but not because of not because of a primary, but I will be streaming. I stream on Tuesdays regardless, and there's a big stream on Tuesday coming up at 121 days from now. So stay tuned for that. But we have another super chat, we have another part of the super chat saying, can Ayotte or Morse beat Craig? I think that we're going to win the governorship or hold the governorship. I think Sununu could run in 26. I don't know if he'd be a shoo-in, depending on who the president is. Gerald Armstrong says, ever since Depressed Ginger started creating poll videos, I've been watching him a lot more. You got competition? Well, I don't really think it's competition. I like DG. I've been watching his channel for probably months. I didn't actually discover him because of poll videos or whatever. It's because I watched some of the sports and stadium stuff that he was doing. But I know I like his content. I wouldn't consider it competition. A lot of his original follower base, I guess, were more into the other stuff than into the political stuff. But no, I don't see it that way. His videos are doing well. A rising tide lifts all boats. And I think that's a very, very good thing. And my videos are doing well. So many other people are making content. They're doing a very good job. And, you know, I was the original in this sphere, in the right-wing election sphere or whatever. I don't know if he got inspiration from me. I don't know. But he's apparently been doing it for a while too. Not as long. But absolutely. I mean, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're almost at 200K. Make sure you guys like and subscribe so we can get there for sure. And hopefully we see a rising tide. I've never had a video get 1 million views before. He had a video that popped off. I was like, wow, that's insane. Hopefully we get a million views. I think we might before the election. It depends on the video. Some videos do well, some do okay. But the whole just catalog is booming right now compared to what we were doing last year, which was the midterm fallout and the primary. Everybody was saying, oh, you support Trump too much. I was like, I was right. He's electable. You look at the numbers. It's not just Biden. That's one thing. Because if Biden was imploding, but Trump was so bad and evil and so unelectable, Trump wouldn't be polling where he was. He'd be, you'd have RFK Jr. doing a lot better But we need to get people out to vote. That's how it's won. Because, yeah, I don't buy the, European polls are proving that our polls are wrong. Or, look, I think Trump's going to win the popular vote by 3? I think Nate Silver is right that it could be within 1 even. I said it'd be about an even popular vote. I'll even move that up to 1 to 2 right now. Swing states, I think Trump gains a little more support. But keep in mind, this is the initial shockwave. Who knows what could happen? But we're a very polarized nation. We are not exactly a country that will even have 2008 style elections possibly ever again. This could be the last shot for one of those. But the economy was so bad at that point. Before the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy, McCain wasn't going to win probably, but he was polling close. And part of it was Palin. Palin was helping him for a while. Palin kind of tapped in. He kind of fleshed out the ticket. See, if you're McCain, picking somebody like a Palin is a good thing. If you're Trump, you might want to, I'd say, give an olive branch to independents or whatever. But Palin was somebody that helped McCain, but it got overshadowed by the financial crisis, because even like states like Michigan that were polling close initially, and they obviously McCain was never going to win it, but faded away. Remember my family being undecided up until like August or whatever. But let's see. I think that's it for Super Chats. This will be the last call for Super Chats. If we have any more Super Chats, send them in. If not, we'll end the show in a couple minutes. But we could look in regular chat, because we have a lot of people in regular chat, people asking questions. But if there's any final thoughts, final things that you want to send up the priority line of chats, make sure to send it via Super Chat, and we'll get to them. But got a lot of people in chat. Great stream as always. Thank you. Somebody says Trump Rubio. Somebody says Youngkin does best with the women vote. I think Youngkin and Rubio kind of taps into that because they're presentable, I guess you would say. But again, doesn't mean that they're perfect, because they're not. And I think that there's things that Trump is going to weigh, and he'll go from there. Whatever decision. People get mad at me for throwing names out there. A lot of people, dozens, hundreds probably, maybe even thousands. But in reality, when we're talking about this, there's not a single pick that is going to please everybody, for one. And for two, it's just something, if I say a name, it doesn't mean that Trump's going to pick him. I say Trump can make his decision. He's going to make it, not me. I'm going to vote for Trump, and we're going to support the ticket regardless. So that's pretty much it. Let's see look in chat here. Vance helps in I don't even know if, well, the thing is, it's funny because people will say, well, Vance underperformed Trump, so therefore he's not electable. First of all, he was up against a strong Democrat, and I'm not saying I want Vance as VP, because I really don't. I think he's good in the Senate. Keep him there, whatever. The fact that he's angling for the position so much, if anything, is kind of a little suspect, one could say. I like the guy, but still, I think that you look at somebody like Pence. None of these people said it about Pence. Pence won Indiana by 4. So you look at that, it's like Vance won Ohio against a strong candidate more than Pence won Indiana by. But apparently the same people probably were loving Pence because he was openly establishment and policy. And they're saying Vance will doom Trump. I don't think Vance moves the needle, which I think is an issue, because I think Trump needs to pick somebody that gives him even more momentum. But it's a balancing act, because you don't want to cave too much to the establishment, which is why I said you have to vet these people. Scott B says it matters who counts the votes, as the saying goes. Would it help to sign up as a poll watcher? Yes. The RNC is actually taking it serious. They're investing in the election integrity operation. Democrats are seething. It's like, you say we have secure elections, but then we invest in poll watchers, and you're trying to fight this legally. You're saying it's voter intimidation. How the hell does that make sense unless everything we're saying is right? And like I said, some people will overblow the effects of it, but it is a problem. There are shenanigans. You can't deny those. They say they're the election deniers. They deny every election they lose, fair and square, or they deny shenanigans and elections that are blatant and well documented and obviously, possible, especially given these mail-in systems. But Zona Tapes is, what are the chances and what are some ways this time around that the Dems can rig? I know in Pima they have us something about Sharpiegate you're talking about. I don't know what even happened there, but I will say that we just need to make sure people vote, and vote early. Vote early if you can. It's not going to matter if they run out of ballots. That's the problem. We need to be firing on all cylinders, basically, because it doesn't matter. Look, I'm just saying, you got to go out there, do what you got to do, and vote. Find a way to vote as soon as you can, so you can make sure that other people take people on election day that haven't voted yet. I mean, that's something that you can use to your advantage. Have I met Trump in person before? I have not. Somebody said Rick Snyder for VP. I don't know if you're saying that as a joke or you mean it genuinely because he was a governor of Michigan, but he literally endorsed Biden in 2020. You know, that already be a disqualifier. He was a rhino governor. He was corrupt. The left blames him a little bit too much for the whole water thing, but you know, he was a weak governor, a weak leader, big time weak leader. If you're going to go that road, out of nowhere, Midwest former governor, Scott Walker is a better choice, and I don't even think he's perfect. But let's see. We have a couple more chats. Let's get to them. We'll go for one more minute. We need people yeah, we need to make sure we keep everything secure. It's common sense. You want to make sure it doesn't matter. You could say it's rare. One vote can determine the outcome of the election. If you don't have a broken windows policy, it's not going to work out. Yeah, don't invest in poll watching in California. You know, maybe in some congressional districts, let the California GOP, which does have money, let them handle it. Let them take care of the thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. But we don't need the national GOP to be focusing on anything other than states that we can win and zero in on the ones that get us to 270. If we fall short in New Jersey because of shenanigans or something, but we win Pennsylvania, it's not gonna matter that much, honestly. Which even then you probably shouldn't be investing too much in New Jersey. If Trump wins it, let it be out of nowhere. Let it be out of thin air. But the polls look good in New Jersey. I don't think Trump wins it, but the polls look good. A lot of Trump-Rubio people in chat, which is surprising. Like I said, we'll see. Tuesday, maybe we'll get it on Tuesday. Maybe we'll get it on Thursday. But we're going to get it before, I think, the 18th for sure, because that's when the reception's going to be that he's going to do in Milwaukee before his speech. And apparently the VP is going to be there. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. Whoever he picks, I'll support the ticket, and we'll go from there. Biden is in a really tough spot, and it's a very good thing, but we got to make sure we don't stay complacent. I say it in every video. Get out and vote. Make a plan. Do it. Take people with you. Get your family involved, friends, extended family. You know, if you hear coworkers talking about politics, you probably should inquire. If you hear people in public talking about it, inquire. Say you're going to make sure you vote. Did you ask them if they voted in 2020 as well? Find out. This is good information too, because if we're adding new voters even, like that's big time stuff right there, because there's no way you're going to be able to lose it if that's the road we're going down. But we will be ending the stream. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. We've had over 1,000 people the entire night. We'll be live again on Tuesday. We'll do a video tomorrow. We'll do a video on Tuesday as well. I think we're going to do a VP video tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. But anyways, guys, like the stream down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. Follow my social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.